I need a son, Neca. He replied sternly. It is important for me, for my family name. My mother says without a son, our lineage will die. I have waited and hoped, but I only have daughters. Neca was heartbroken. Our daughters are blessings, not curses, she said in a trembling voice. Once upon a time, in a small village in Nigeria, there lived a happy family, a kind man named Obina and his loving wife Neca. They shared a humble home with their little daughter Amanda. Obina was a proud Igbo man who worked hard, and Neca was a strong, caring woman who took care of their home. They both adored their daughter. Every evening, Obina would lift baby Amanda in his arms, calling her my sunshine. As she giggled, Neca would smile, watching her husband and daughter play. Their home was filled with laughter, love, and hope for the future. Though Obina was an Igbo man with traditional values, he was gentle and treated his wife with respect and affection. Neighbors often said Obina had a big heart. In fact, his name Obina means father's heart in Igbo language. He truly had a heart full of love for his family. Neca, whose name means mother is supreme, was equally loving. She was kind to everyone and always helped neighbors in need. Together, they taught little Amanda values like kindness, honesty, and respect. The village community was very close-knit and friendly. In the evenings, families would sit outside under the stars, telling stories and enjoying the cool breeze. Neca would tell Amanda folktales and sing her sweet lullabies in Igbo and English. Obina would sometimes play the drum or flute to make Amanda clap and laugh. They might not have been rich in money, but they were rich in love and happiness. Everyone who saw them together could tell this family was special, bound by love and unity. When Amanda was about 3 years old, Neca became pregnant again. The family was excited and prayed for a healthy baby. Obina's relatives, however, had their own hopes. Obina's mother and some elders in the family wished strongly for a boy. In Igbo culture, many people traditionally valued having a son to carry on the family name and inherit family land. Obina's mother often whispered to him, "I pray this one is a boy. You need a son to uphold our lineage." Though Obina loved Amanda dearly, he too began to secretly wish the new baby would be a boy, hoping to please his family. In time, Neca gave birth to their second child. It was a beautiful, healthy baby girl named Ella. When Ella was born, Neca was overjoyed and cried tears of happiness. She held the tiny baby and felt the same rush of love she had felt with Amanda. But when Obina realized the baby was a girl, a shadow passed over his face for just a moment. He forced a smile because he loved his wife and now had another daughter. "She's lovely," he said softly, touching Ella's small hands. However, inside, he felt a pinch of disappointment that he tried to hide. News of the baby's birth traveled quickly through the village. Neighbors came by with gifts, congratulating the family. Many were happy for Neca and Obina. But a few relatives made unkind comments like, "Ha! Another girl? Don't worry, the next one will be a boy." In hushed tones, one of Obina's aunties said, "Obina, a man needs a son who will carry your name when you are gone." These words sank into Obina's heart like stones. He began to worry about what his family and community thought of him for having only daughters. As baby Ella grew into a toddler, things in the household started to change. Obina was not the same cheerful father he used to be. He still worked hard on his farm, but he smiled less at home. Sometimes, when Amanda and Ella played around the house, Obina would shout, "Keep quiet!" That is something he never used to do. The warmth in his eyes when he looked at his children began to fade. Neca noticed these changes and felt sad and confused. She tried to talk to her husband, but he often brushed her off or sat quietly, lost in thought. The pressure from Obina's family did not stop. During village meetings or family gatherings, Obina's relatives would ask, "When will you try for a son?" Or "Have you thought about what to do since you have no male child?" Each question made Obina more restless and unhappy. Instead of seeing his two lovely daughters as blessings, he started seeing them as reminders of what he did not have: a son. This was very unfair to the girls at Neca, but Obina's mind was clouded by tradition and the voices of others. At home, Obina became distant. He no longer played with Amanda and Ella in the evenings. He often sat apart, quiet and stern, instead of joining in their laughter. One afternoon, Amanda excitedly showed him a picture she drew at school. He merely nodded without really looking. "That's nice," he said flatly, instead of praising her like before. The little girl walked away feeling confused and hurt. Neca saw these moments and her heart ached for her children. She continued to shower them with extra love to make up for their father's coldness. She gently tried reminding Obina that their daughters were still children who needed his love. "They are your children too, Obina. They look up to you," she pleaded softly, but Obina would just shrug and say, "I know they are, but you wouldn't understand, Neca. It is different." He didn't explain what he meant, but Neca understood one thing. Her husband was unhappy that their children were girls. Sometimes, late at night, when the girls were fast asleep, Neca allowed herself to feel tired and very lonely. It was not easy being both mother and father to her children. In those moments, she prayed silently for strength. She remembered the hurtful words some people had thrown at her, calling her the woman with only daughters in a pitying tone. But to Neca, her daughters were not only anything, they were her everything. She recalled an old saying she once heard: "A child is a child, boy or girl. They light up a home all the same." She believed this with all her heart. One day, Obina made an announcement that shook the whole family. He told Neca that he had decided to take another wife, a woman he believed would give him a son. In their culture, it was not completely unheard of a man to marry a second wife, especially if he desperately wanted a male child. But for Neca, this news was devastating. Her eyes filled with tears as she asked, "Obina, what about our family? What about me and our daughters? Don't we matter to you?" Obina refused to meet her eyes. "I need a son, Neca," he replied sternly. "It is important for me, for my family name. My mother says without a son, our lineage will die. I have waited and hoped, but I only have daughters." Neca was heartbroken. "Our daughters are blessings, not curses," she said in a trembling voice. "Amanda and Ella love you. I love you. Don't do this." But Obina's mind was made up. His relatives had already introduced him to a young woman from a neighboring town named Adaeze. Before long, Obina married her in a small court ceremony without much fanfare. The day he left home to be with his new wife, Amanda clung to his leg, crying, "Papa, please don't go." Little Ella, not fully understanding, started crying because her big sister was upset. Obina gently pried Amanda's little hands off, but his face was hard. "Be good girls and listen to your mother," he said. Then he walked away, leaving Neca and the children in tears. After Obina left, the house felt emptier than ever. He had abandoned them and moved to the town with his new wife. The villagers whispered about it, and Neca felt both ashamed and hurt. She had done nothing wrong, yet she was left alone with two young children to raise. Some of Obina's family members even stopped visiting, as if Neca and her daughters were now less important. It was a very difficult time. Neca would watch 5-year-old Amanda stand at the doorway every evening, waiting for her father to come back from work, only to remember he wasn't coming home to them anymore. Ella, still a toddler, often asked, "Where is Papa?" Neca would hug her and say softly, "Papa is not here, my dear, but Mama is here. I'm here for you." A few months after Obina left, Neca discovered she was pregnant again. It was unexpected and brought mixed feelings. She was carrying Obina's third child, a child he didn't even know about when he made the choice to leave. Neca felt sad thinking about it. Would Obina even care if it was another baby girl or even if it was a boy? He hadn't contacted her or the children at all since he left. Nonetheless, Neca prepared herself to welcome this new baby with love, even if she had to do it alone. As the month passed by, Amanda and Ella became excited that they would get a new little brother or sister. They didn't fully understand the situation with their father, but they saw their mother's growing belly and often talked to the baby inside. On a rainy night, Neca went into labor. She gave birth at home with the help of a local midwife. By dawn, a tiny crying baby was born. It was a girl, a beautiful baby with bright eyes. Neca held her newborn daughter and smiled through her tears. She named the child Sarah. Baby Sarah was innocent and pure, unaware of the troubles that had happened before her birth. When word went out that Neca had given birth to a third daughter, some people muted that Obina would not be happy because the baby was not a boy. But Neca ignored those murmurs. As she cradled Sarah, she whispered, "You are a gift, my little one. You and your sisters are all gifts to me." Amanda and Ella were delighted with their new baby sister. Amanda, now about 6 years old, helped fetch clean water and clothes for the baby. Ella, only 3, clapped her hands and said, "Baby," while giggling with excitement. The presence of the little Sarah brought some joy back into their life. Though raising 3 children alone was not easy, Neca was determined. She made a promise to herself, "I will train my daughters well and give them all the love they need. They will grow up to be strong and successful. They will never feel that they are any less just because they are girls." Neca held her head high with resolve. She returned to working on the farm a few weeks after giving birth, strapping baby Sarah on her back, while Amanda and Ella toddled along. Some days were very hard. There was little money, and the children would fall ill or cry through the night. But each challenge only made Neca more determined to keep going. Neca worked tirelessly to provide for Amanda, Ella, and Sarah. She woke up before the sun each morning. While the village was still dark and quiet, she would light a small kerosene lamp and prepare food for the day. She tended to her little farm plot, growing vegetables and cassava, and she also wove baskets to sell at the local market. Every coin she earned went towards feeding her children and sending them to school. Often, Neca skipped meals so that her daughters could have enough to eat. Despite these hardships, she never complained in front of her girls. She always wore a warm smile and encouraged them to study and be the best they could be. At night, after finishing her chores, Neca would gather her daughters and helped them with their homework by the dim lamplight. Amanda, who was the oldest, had learned to read and would sometimes read storybooks aloud to her sisters. Ella would recite the alphabet and numbers she learned at school that day. Even little Sarah, as she grew to toddler age, would sit with a picture book, copying her sisters. Neca's heart swelled with pride as she saw how intelligent and curious her daughters were. She often told them, "You are smart, you are brave, and you can become anything you want to be." Those words sank deep into the girls' heart, giving them confidence. Sometimes late at night, when the girls were fast asleep, Neca allowed herself to feel tired and lonely. It was not easy being both mother and father to their children. The years passed, and the girls grew older under Neca's care. She taught them the values of hard work, resilience, and kindness. They helped her with the farm and with the house chores as much as they could. One weekend, Amanda and Ella would join their mother at the market to sell baskets and vegetables. The villagers saw how dedicated Neca was and how well behaved and bright her daughters were. Some who had once gossiped began to show respect. A neighbor, an old man named Papa Uche, often told others at the market, "Look at how Neca raises those girls. They will go far. Any father should be proud to have daughters like that." Whenever Neca heard such kind words, she felt a mix of pride and sadness, thinking of how their own father, Obina, was missing these moments. When Amanda finished primary school, she earned top marks in her exams. She was awarded a scholarship to attend a good secondary school in the city. Neca was overjoyed for her, but it also meant Amanda would have to go to a boarding school in Lagos, the big city far from their village. This was a tough decision because Amanda had never been away from home. Before Amanda left, Neca sat her down for a talk. "My dear, this is a wonderful opportunity. Study hard and make us proud. Remember everything I've taught you. We might be far apart, but I am always with you in my heart," she said, placing a hand on Amanda's shoulder. They hugged tightly, and with tears in her eyes, Amanda promised, "I will make you proud, Mama." As the years went by, each of the girls followed in Amanda's footsteps. Ella also excelled in her studies and went on to a university, and so did Sarah when her turn came. Eventually, all three moved to Lagos, one after the other, for higher education and then for their careers. Amanda became a medical doctor, working in a big hospital. Ella became a successful lawyer, standing up for people's rights. Sarah started her own business and opened a company that sold beautiful handmade crafts. Some of her designs were inspired by the basket weaving skills her mother had taught her. They were no longer the little girls in the village. They had grown into educated, confident young women. Amanda, Ella, and Sarah often sent money and gifts back home to Neca, their mother, and called her every week. They invited their mother to come live with them in the city. By this time, Neca was older and had worked so hard for so many years. She eventually agreed and moved to Lagos as well. proud to see the lives her daughters had built. In Lagos, they lived together in a comfortable house that the sisters purchased. Neca finally could rest from her labors and enjoy time with her daughters, who were now more like her best friends. People in both the village and the city who heard their stories were amazed by how far the girls from the little village had come. Some who had scorned Neca for having no sons realized they had been wrong. These daughters were as capable as any sons, if not more. They took great care of their mother and succeeded in ways that brought honor to the family name. Sometimes, Neca would think of Obina during quiet moments. He had never contacted them all these years. She wondered if he knew what wonderful children he had left behind. Sometimes, she felt angry at him for missing out, but mostly she felt sad for him. Obina had traded away the love of his family for a foolish dream, not realizing that he already had the greatest treasures right in front of him. While Neca and her daughters were rising to success, Obina's life was taking a very different turn. After he left his first family and married Adaeze, he fully expected that soon he would have the son he desired. At first, things seemed hopeful. Adaeze was young and fashionable. She loved going to parties and wearing expensive clothes and jewelry. Obina worked even harder on his farm and started a small trading business to afford the lifestyle that Adaeze liked. He bought her gifts and they lived in a more modern house in town, unlike the simple home he had built with Neca in the village. However, as months turned into years, no baby came. Adaeze did not become pregnant. Obina and Adaeze visited doctors, and it turned out that Adaeze had a health issue that made it very hard for her to have children. When Obina learned this, he was deeply disappointed. He had left 3 lovely children, hoping for a son, only to learn that he might not have any child at all with his new wife. Adaeze was also unhappy with this situation. She had married Obina partly because she wanted a comfortable life, and she hoped to give him a child to secure her place in the family. But when she realized she could not have a baby, she started to change as well. Adaeze became cold to Obina, especially as he grew older and his business began to struggle. She would spend a lot of money on clothes, gold jewelry, and going out with her friends. If Obina ever complained about the expenses, she would snap at him saying, "Don't try to control me. You married me for a son and now I can't have one, so at least I will enjoy my life." Obina felt more and more regret each day. He missed the warmth and kindness of Neca, who would never have spoken to him so harshly. He remembered how Neca used to save money and make sacrifices for the family, unlike Adaeze, who only spent and demanded more. As time went on, Obina's second marriage fell apart. Adaeze grew tired of him, especially as he was aging and not as strong as he used to be. One fateful day, Obina came home to find that Adaeze had packed all her belongings and left. She had even taken a large portion of their money from their joint bank account. Adaeze left a note that said, "I'm done. This is not the life I signed up for." Obina was shocked and left utterly alone in an empty house. He had lost not just one family, but now the second one too. Feeling lonely and defeated, Obina decided to return to his home village in the east. He was too ashamed to face many people, so he didn't tell anyone he was coming back. He quietly moved into the little old house he had built long ago with Neca, the same house where Amanda and Ella had been born. The house had been empty since Neca had moved to Lagos, and it was now dusty and full of memories. Obina sat on an old wooden chair, looking around at the marks on the wall, where family photos once hung, and at the doorway, where Amanda used to wait for him. He felt a pain in his chest that came not just from sadness, but also from sickness. In the following months, Obina's health started to fail. Years of hard labor and stress had taken a toll on him. He fell ill with a cough that wouldn't go away and pains in his body that made it hard to walk. He had little savings left, especially after Adeze took much of their money. Some of the villagers who remembered him realized he had returned and occasionally came by to check on him. Most people knew what had happened, that he left his first wife and daughters, and that things hadn't ended well with his second wife. People talked, and Obina overheard some saying he chased away good fortune with his own hands, or if only he hadn't been so foolish to abandon his family. Alone in the evenings, under the sky, where he once sat with his happy family, Obina finally understood the depth of his mistakes. He thought of Neca's kindness, of Amanda's giggles, Ella's tiny hands, and the baby he never met, Sarah. He realized that he had traded away real love for a more idea of what he thought he needed. I wanted a son so badly that I threw away my daughters. Now I have nothing, he thought bitterly. Obina began to wish he could turn back time. One evening, as Obina struggled to fetch water from the village well, something he hadn't done in years since Neca used to do it or they did it together, he met an old friend, Chukwuma. At the well, Chukwuma greeted him kindly and helped him pull up the heavy water bucket. As they rested a moment, Chukwuma said gently, "It's been a long time, Obina. How are your children?" He wasn't sure whether to mention them, knowing the history. Obina sighed and answered, "Honestly, I don't know. I haven't seen them in many years." He felt a lump in his throat as he admitted this. Chukwuma then told him some news that surprised him. He said, "I heard about your daughters, my friend. They have made your family proud. The oldest one, Amanda, is a doctor in Lagos. Ella is a lawyer. And the youngest, Sarah, has a business of her own. They have all done so well. And they take good care of your wife. Well, your first wife, Neca." Obina's eyes widened in astonishment as a mix of emotions filled him. Pride, shame, and sorrow all washed over him. They have?" he whispered. "Yes," Chukwuma nodded. "Everyone in the village knows. Neca went to live with them in the city. They even built a house here for her some years ago before she moved. And they fixed the school and clinic as a thank you to the village. Your daughters did that." Obina's heart felt like it was being squeezed. His little girls had become successful women who even gave back to the community. They had done things he could never have imagined, and he was not there to see any of it. Tears filled Obina's eyes and rolled down his cheeks, surprising Chukwuma. "I have made a terrible mistake," Obina said, his voice cracking. The old friend patted his back. "It's never too late to seek forgiveness, Obina. They are your blood. Maybe you should try to talk to them," Chukwuma suggested softly. That day, Obina decided he would try to reconnect with Neca and his daughters. It was not an easy decision because he was filled with shame and he feared they would reject him. But he knew he had to at least apologize and beg for their forgiveness. With the help of Chukwuma, Obina got an address for where Neca and the daughters lived in Lagos. It took some time, but eventually he wrote them a letter. In the letter, he poured out his heart, apologizing for all the pain he caused. He wrote to Neca, Amanda, Ella, and Sarah, saying he was sorry for abandoning them and that not a day went by without him regretting his actions. He did not even know if they would read it, but he sent it anyway. Weeks passed with no reply. Obina then tried calling a phone number he was given for Amanda. The first time he called, As soon as the phone connected and he heard a hello on the other end, he panicked and hung up without saying a word. The voice on the phone had been Amanda's, now grown up, but he recognized it faintly. He was overcome with guilt and couldn't bring himself to speak. The second time, he gathered courage and spoke with Amanda. But as soon as he said, "Hello, it's your father, Obina," the line went silent. Amanda had hung up on him after a stunned pause. She was not ready to talk to the man who had left them. Still, Obina did not give up. He understood that their hurt was deep. He started sending little messages through anyone he could, an old neighbor who had Neca's contact, and even through Chukuma, his friend's phone. In each message, he begged for just a chance to see them. "I am an old man now," he said in one message. "I know I don't deserve it, but I wish I could see you all at least once more. Please, forgive me, my children. Forgive me, my wife." At first, Neca and the daughters didn't know how to feel about Obina's attempt to reach out. When Neca received the letter in the mail, she sat down at the kitchen table in Lagos, her hands trembling as she opened it. As she read Obina's words of apology, years of buried emotions welled up. She remembered the young man who had once been so loving, and then she remembered the hurt he had caused when he changed. She also thought about how much time had passed. Amanda was now a 30-year-old woman, Ella in her late 20s, and Sarah in her early 20s. Neca herself had grown older and wiser. She knew that anger was a heavy burden to carry for so long. She quietly kept the letter, not immediately showing it to the girls. When Amanda hung up from one of his phone calls, she was shaking. She remembered being that little 5-year-old girl begging her father not to go. The pain of that memory made her both angry and sad. Ella, who had been younger when he left, had grown up hardly remembering her father's face. To her, he was almost like a character in a story their mother told, and not a very nice character. Sarah had never met her father at all. She only knew him from her sisters and her mother's descriptions. Sarah felt curious about him, but also protective of her mother and sisters. Why was this man reaching out now after so long? She felt he had no reason or right to disturb their lives. One evening, Neca gathered her daughters to talk. She gently showed them the letter that Obina had written. Amanda decided to read it out loud. In the letter, he wrote about how he was wrong and how he had suffered for his mistakes. He told them how proud he was when he heard of their accomplishments, and how sorry he was that he missed seeing them grow up. By the time Amanda finished reading, her voice was shaking and there were tears in her eyes, though she tried to blink them away. Ella had silent tears on her cheeks as well. Sarah's eyes were also moist, and she softly said, "He sounds so sad." They discussed what to do. Amanda was the most hesitant. "After all these years, now he wants to come back," she said angrily. "He left us. He hurt Mom so much. I don't know if I can forgive that easily." Ella agreed. "He wasn't there when we needed him," she said. "Why should we be there for him now?" Sarah, the gentle one, had a different view. "I know he did a terrible thing, but Mama always taught us that forgiveness is important. And he is our father. Even if we don't really know him, he's old and sick from what we hear. Will it make us happier to keep hating him?" she asked softly. Neca listened to her daughters and then spoke softly. "My children, I won't tell you what to do. You have every right to your feelings. What your father did was very wrong, and it hurt all of us so deeply. I myself took a long time to heal from that pain. but carrying bitterness forever can also hurt your heart. I have forgiven him in my heart, not because what he did was okay, but because I didn't want hatred to control my life. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself as much as to the person. It frees you from pain. She paused, then continued. He's asking for a chance to see you. If nothing else, perhaps we should let him apologize in person. After that, it's up to us to decide how we feel. The sisters thought about their mother's wise words. In truth, they had everything they needed in life now, except perhaps the closure of facing their father. Eventually, they agreed to meet him, but they were still nervous and unsure about what would happen. The day of reunion was filled with tension and emotion. The three daughters and Neca traveled back to the village to meet Obina, thinking it would be easier than making the old man travel to the city. After a long drive, they arrived at the familiar village of their childhood. Neca led her daughters to the old house where they once lived. Obina was sitting on a wooden bench outside under the shade of a mango tree, as if he waited there every day, hoping they would come. When Obina saw them approaching, he stood up. Though he was unsteady on his feet, he recognized Neca immediately, though she had aged gracefully over the years. Then he looked at the three young women with her, and his breath caught in his throat. Could these elegant grown women be the little children he had left behind? Amanda had Neca's eyes, Ella had a smile like his own mother's, and Sarah looked so much like Neca when she was young. Obina's legs felt weak, and he slowly knelt down on the ground, tears streaming down his face even before anyone said a word. Neca stepped forward, worried he might fall. Obina, please stand up. You are not well, she said, her voice gentle. This kindness made Obina cry even more. Neca, I am sorry. I am sorry. He tried to speak, but his voice broke. Amanda, Ella, and Sarah looked at the man who was their father. He looked so small and frail now, not at all like the big, strong father Amanda remembered from childhood. For a moment, none of the daughters knew what to do or say. Finally, in a trembling voice, Obina addressed them. Amanda, Ella, Sarah, my daughters. Looking at each one and saying their names, as if tasting them after so many years. I am so sorry. He bent his head down, unable to look them in the eyes. I was blinded by my foolish desires. I hurt you all. I left the best family a man could ever have. I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I am begging for it. Please, my children, forgive me. Please, my wife. I know I cannot make up for the past, but I hope you can find it in your heart to let go of the anger I caused. His voice cracked and he coughed, his illness making him weak. Amanda felt tears rolling down her face. All the anger she had held on to for so long was now mixed with pity and a love she didn't even realize was still there. She had yearned for her father's love as a child, and seeing him now, she realized a part of her still longed for that connection. Ella moved closer to her mother, tears in her eyes, as if seeking strength. Sarah, who had never known her father, stepped forward slowly. She gently helped him up from his knees. Papa, it's okay, she said softly, using the word Papa for the first time in her life. With that one word from Sarah, the emotional wall began to crumble. Amanda and Ella also stepped closer. Neca watched as each of her daughters, one by one, moved to hug their father. Amanda was sobbing quietly as she embraced him and said, I forgive you, Papa. Ella nodded through her tears. I forgive you too. Sarah, already holding his hand, added, "We forgive you." Neca wiped her own tears and stepped closer, placing a hand on Obina's shoulder. "We all forgive you," she said, her voice full of relief and compassion. The family that had been broken was in that moment made whole again. It was not the same as before. Too many years had passed, but it was a new beginning. Obina felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and relief. He had expected anger, and he wouldn't have blamed them for it. Instead, he received love and forgiveness. He realized just how strong and kind Neca and his daughters were to open their hearts to him. They spent the rest of that day talking beneath the mango tree. Obina wanted to know everything about their lives. As they spoke, there were laughter and also many tears. Obina marveled at each daughter's achievement and apologized again and again for not being there. The daughters told him of the challenges they overcame without him and how their mother was their hero. Neca mostly listened, smiling gently to see her daughters finally talking with their father, and their father finally appreciating the children he had. 3 days' time, they planned going back to Lagos. The sun cast golden hues over the village as they prepared to leave for Lagos the next day. The family decided that Obina should come with them. He was too ill to stay alone, and now that they had reconciled, the daughters insisted that they take care of him. At first, Obina resisted, feeling unworthy of their care. But Neca said, "We are family. We will not leave you alone." Touched by their kindness, Obina agreed to go with them. It was hard for him to accept so much goodwill after all he had done, but he was deeply thankful. Obina returned to Lagos with them in the coming days. Later, he received proper medical treatment thanks to Amanda's help at the hospital. He grew a bit stronger with medicine, rest, and especially the joy of being surrounded by family again. His daughters spent time getting to know him, and he, in turn, shared stories of his youth and their family history. There were tough conversations too, but with each day, the pain of the past healed a little more. Neca and Obina often sat together on the porch in the evening, talking quietly. One night, Obina said, "Thank you for raising them so well." His voice was filled with remorse and gratitude. "They are who they are because of you." Neca replied warmly, "They had it in them all along. They just needed love and support. I'm just glad you get to see how wonderful they are." Obina nodded with tears in his eyes. "I wish I had understood earlier that a child is valuable, whether boy or girl," he said softly. "I threw away my chance to watch them grow, but I thank God I got a second chance to be here now." And so the family moved forward, not forgetting the lessons of the past, but choosing to focus on the love they had found again. The lesson in this story is that every child is a blessing, whether boy or girl. Obina learned too late that sons and daughters are both precious. Amanda, Ella, and Sarah proved that girls can achieve great things and bring honor and joy to a family. A mother's strength is powerful. Neca's love, courage, and hard work held the family together. She showed that a mother can be a hero, protecting and providing for her children against all odds. Selfishness and favoritism can destroy a family. Obina's selfish desire for a son and the favoritism shown by his relatives caused great pain and nearly broke their life and family. This teaches us that love should not be conditioned or based on gender. The healing power of forgiveness, despite the hurt he caused, Neca and her daughters found peace by forgiving Obina. Forgiveness helped heal their past and brought the family back together. Holding on to anger would only continue the hurt. but letting it go set them all free. In the end, the family story shows that love, unity, and understanding are what truly makes a family strong. And as they all lived together with renewed hope, Obina made sure to cherish every moment, grateful for the daughters he once rejected and for the wife who showed endless grace. Their story became a gentle lesson to the whole village and to everyone who heard it. All children are gifts. Parents should love their kids equally, and even when mistakes are made, kindness and forgiveness can light the way forward. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures, where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonder, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.